Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Music Weekly, the show where I give you guys the prog news headlines for the week, introduce you guys to some new prog singles, and give you updates on the channel and what's happening here on Nathan on Shuffle. It's April 18th, 2025, and I must apologize up front. I've been gone for a few weeks for various reasons, mostly because I've been on Cruise to the Edge over the past week or so. Just getting back into the thick of it, back at home this week, and trying to catch up on all of the new music and all the stuff that I have to catch up on in my regular family life and work life and all of that kind of stuff. So it's taken me a little bit of time to get back to the chair here and get back onto the channel, but I'm here and excited about what's coming up. Had a great time on Cruise to the Edge. There's going to be a recap video that me and Jana have filmed, but we're trying to edit it and put in photos and different things to make it a cool experience, so really want you guys to be able to see that one. It should be coming out this weekend at some point. We had a lot of fun talking through our experience and talking through some of our hot button issues of what we experienced. I still have the vinyl behind me of all the different bands that were on Cruise to the Edge. It was one of the best lineups that I've ever seen at any sort of prog festival. So it was really fantastic. And it meant that I missed about 3 weeks or so of New Music Weekly shows. So I have a lot to catch up on. And I thought what would be a good approach for this episode, because there wasn't really a lot of major news items by like classic prog bands and things like that. I'm just going to give a release schedule rundown, essentially, and talk about the upcoming releases that are coming this quarter that I'm really excited about, and highlighting some new singles from those albums that have been coming out over the last few weeks. So I thought that would be a cool approach, so hopefully you guys appreciate that. Kind of a giant expanded prog singles list to get the program back in order after a little bit of a hiatus. But as for some new releases that have come out in the meantime since I've been away, a lot of great stuff, and some I'm going to be doing reviews of this upcoming week. I'm going to try to squeeze in as many reviews as I can. I can't cover everything, obviously, but I want to highlight a couple that have really stood out to me over the course of the last couple weeks, such as Black Country New Roads' album Forever How Long. I love Solstice, their album Clan, which I actually did a review of before I left for the cruise. Amplifier has an album that's out called Gargantuan, a great heavier kind of alternative rock / prog outfit. McStein and Miniman came out with their third album, fantastic duo, great album. Glass Hammer came out with their album Rogue on April 11th. I'm going to be covering that this week. Fantastic symphonic prog album, the 22nd album, I believe, in their catalog. Benthos, a new prog metal act with a bit of heavier, like screamo style vocals, came out with an excellent album called From Within. Epica, a great symphonic metal act, came out with their album A Spiral. The Mars Volta kind of surprised with a new album out of nowhere. Lucro Sucio, Los Ojos del Vaca. Bjorn Rees came out with his solo album Fimbulvinter. Sons of Ra is a new project, at least new to me, that's kind of a jazz fusion-y kind of feel. Standard Deviation is their album that came out. Haken came out with an album this week, There's No Space for Us, a classic prog band there. And this weekend in particular, Brass Camel is a band that I'm really fascinated by. I'm going to be reviewing them this week. Their album Camel is just fantastic, kind of classic 70s prog with a little bit of funk and classic rock vibes. Just really fun album, kind of like if Ben Sinister just went full-blown prog. Aryon's The Human Equation, their 2025 remix and remastered edition, came out this weekend. One of my favorite all-time concept records from the mind of Arjen Lucassen. Terra Maze came out with their album The Harmony Machine, kind of a really cool progressive metal outfit. So there's just a lot going on in the scene, a lot of albums that have come out recently. One of them is one of my featured singles, so I'll jump right into my list. Here, Lux Terminus, and the album's called Cinder. The single that I have for you on the list is called Catalyst, and it features Ross Jennings on vocals, plus John Pyers as well, and saxophonist Jorgen Munkby. So it's a really cool track. This is really fun. I really like Cinder's vibe. They're an American progressive trio, and they focus more on keyboards rather than on guitar, which is kind of unconventional for progressive metal, especially. Vikram Shankar is the keyboardist, and he's a fantastic player. And this is just a really cool expanded track that I really love. And so this is an album that you can go check out now. Definitely one on my list. Don't know if I'll get around to a specific review of it. I wish I could, but definitely want to point your attention to that one. Cosmic Cathedral is coming out with their album Deep Water. This is project of Neil Morse, also Chester Thompson, Phil Kagi, and Byron House. This is coming out next weekend, next Friday. I'm going to be doing a review of it, kind of an advanced preview. Hope to put out that review tomorrow, in fact. I'm trying to put out my reviews a little bit earlier to get the buzz going and get people excited about what to expect. I'm a huge Neil Morse fanatic, so I'm really excited to talk about it. So I'll save my thoughts for that episode, but please check out my review of it coming out soon. Ghost also has an album coming out next weekend, Skeletá, and they have a single they just released called Lacrima. This isn't really progressive rock like I tend to cover, but a lot of my fellow YouTubers and friends really respect and like this band. They're kind of a hard rock / retro rock kind of outfit. They do this kind of outward appearance of this ghost, like dark occult kind of vibe with dressing up and kind of this really dark, eerie vibe. But the music itself is actually pretty fun and like just classic 70s hard rock, like Black Sabbath and, you know, all of these kind of cool classic rock bands. So it's kind of a funny juxtaposition to me because the music never feels like it totally fits the image in my mind. I'm not really a fan of like the darker, more occult kind of vibe, but I do like some of their more fun throwback kind of retro rock singles. So a really cool single that's on my list. And just so you know, all these singles I'm talking about, I've put a playlist in the description where I'm collecting all of the great prog singles throughout the year that I'm hoping you guys will click on and go actually listen to all of these singles. I wish I could put clips of it inside the video itself, but I try to shy away from that because of copyright concerns and stuff. So instead, I kind of turn your attention towards it on a separate playlist where you can listen to these on YouTube. But of course, you can search all these in whatever streaming service of your choice as well to hear all of these great singles. Flower Kings have their album Love coming out on May 2nd. Flower Kings, of course, a classic band at this point, you know, kind of one of the early adopters of this third wave of prog, and their 17th studio album is coming, which is kind of shocking that they've been around and been so consistent over the years. They're one of my favorite symphonic prog bands that have this great way of nodding to the classics but also adding their own unique stamp on the genre. The new single that they put out for this album is Burning Both Edges, which is another great classic song from them. This album has a lot of kind of classic Flower Kings feel to it, and I'm excited to get into a review of it. Probably in about a week's time, I'll be covering this album extensively, but check it out if you're interested. There's, of course, pre-orders available for the album as well, and all of that kind of stuff. This album features Roine Stolt, Hasse Froberg, and Michael Stolt kind of forming the core of the group that's been consistent for a little while now, alongside Mirko de Mouw and Lally Larson on this lineup. So if you're curious about who's on the album, unfortunately no Thomas Bodin and no more Jonas Reingold. So they're starting to kind of lose some of these classic core members, but as long as Roine Stolt's on board, and I think the voice of Hasse Froberg is very important to their sound as well, that's going to sound like classic Flower Kings to me. On the 9th as well, Haken's live album, Liveforms, An Evening with Haken, is coming out. Saw them on the cruise. They were fantastic. Played a lot of selections that you'll hear on the live album on the cruise boat, so it was a lot of fun to see them play. I checked out both of their shows. Most bands I was only able to check out one of their different shows, but this one I made a point to check them both in the Stardust Theater as well as on the pool stage, and they were fantastic. The track that they've released as a single is Puzzle Box. Basically for this tour, they did like the whole Fauna album, and then they did a collection of like greatest hits kind of stuff. So this comes from the second side of that. And fantastic performance, fantastic. Ross Jennings features multiple times on the list here. So he featured as part of that Lux Terminus single, and now here with his main band Haken. So that's a really great live release to look forward to and to pre-order and check out. Lars Fredrik Frøislie, also on the 9th, is coming out with his solo album Gamle Maestro. This is the keyboardist of Wobbler, fantastic player. The new album is really going to be exciting, I'm sure. And the title of the single that's out is pretty much impossible for me to say, but Jakten pa det Caledoniski Vilsvin, and that means the hunt for the Caledonian boar. Fantastic vintage keyboard sounds like right in line with classic progressive rock. This Norwegian style is definitely clear on it. Kind of a good thing to listen to as you hopefully prepare for the next Wobbler release. I really love Wobbler. I think they're one of the most premier new prog acts that exists out there. So to me, I hope that there's a new Wobbler album around the corner, but Lars is such a fantastic musician and player that you get a really great dose of classic prog throughout this whole album. So this single is really cool. It's like a 10-minute track, so to call it a single is kind of selling it short, but definitely well worth picking up on physical format or listening to it on your streaming service of choice. A little more obscure, also coming out the same day. This is a big release day for a lot of prog stuff. Edensong is coming out with their album Our Road to Rust, and their latest single is called Book of Complaints. This is a New York City-based progressive rock band. Really cool. It's been a while since their previous release that I really enjoyed, Years in the Garden of Years, so it's cool to see them back. They have a cool edge to them. They have a little bit of a kind of folkier vibe sometimes, but, definitely reside in kind of a heavier prog vein as well. So I'm excited to see what they come up with on this upcoming album. We have Magic Pie's new album coming on the 16th of May called Maestro, and they just released a second single called Someone Else's Wannabe. Another band that was on the cruise that really impressed and stunned me. The first true performance I saw on the cruise ship. And they were fantastic, full of energy and life, and their new album is just fantastic. I've heard it. I'm going to cover it on the channel as well. Excited for you guys all to hear it. It's just classic rock and classic prog all combined in this cool stew from one of the best to do it in the genre. So this is a great example of what you can expect on the record. So check out this single, Someone Else's Wannabe. Fast finger skills, complex vocal arrangements, a little touch of sweet romance. That's how their singer kind of describes this track. So fantastic. Katatonia announced their new album, Nightmares as Extensions of the Waking State. This is coming out June 6th. The single they've released is called Lilac. So this is coming out via Napalm Records. This is a Swedish group that's a little bit known for a more darker, more melancholy style sound. And it sounds like this album should be no different from that. Great lead single if you like that sort of thing. Jonas Rinsky is the founding member and contributes his great vocals to this track and to this album. So should be a really cool album if you're a fan of Katatonia and what they do. Another album coming out on the 6th is A to Z, and their frustratingly titled upcoming album A to Z Squared, I think is how you're supposed to say it. A to Z Squared. The single is called Nothing Is Over. This is more of a hard rock band, not very much prog to detect here, but we've got two members of Fate's Warning, Mark Zonder on the drums and Ray Alder on vocals. So you got a little bit of a connection to kind of classic prog metal on this album, but it's just a really cool hard rocking track and exciting if you like these artists and if you like this kind of a heavier sound. Really fun. On the 13th, we're going to get an album from Altesia called The Somnambulist, and I've got the single Her Ghost in Limbo on my list. This is a French progressive metal band, one that I've only discovered fairly recently, but they're really cool and eclectic and have a lot of different influences. There are two albums that they've released before, Paragon Circus in 2019 and Embryo in 2021. They say that this is their most ambitious work to date, coming out June 13th. The band embraces the idea of playing music without labels or boundaries, and this track, Her Ghost in Limbo, really showcases that. It sounds like really quirky prog, a little bit of Haken, a little bit of Dream Theater, a little bit of all the cool, quirky prog metal bands that you could think of in this cool stew of interesting sound. So I really liked this track, and it makes me super excited for the album to come. Another thing I'm super excited about is AVKRVST and their album Waving at the Sky, coming out June 13th. They released a short single called The Malevolent, which features Ross Jennings, once again, getting around those prog streets quite a bit. This is a Norwegian prog rock group. They released their debut album a couple years back called The Approbation, which is really excellent. kind of very much in the vein of Steven Wilson and Opeth, and some people even said that maybe they stuck a little too close to their influences on that release. But it'll be interesting to see if they can break out of that and do something more individual and more unique to their own style and sound, if they can further develop. It sounds like, based on the press releases, that that's what they're hoping to do here. This is another concept record, kind of a prequel to the Approbation story-wise, kind of a darker story that they're exploring here, and I'm hoping that it's going to be great. It's one of the releases I'm most excited about upcoming, that I am excited to check out. I can't wait to hear this one. Up for pre-orders as well on vinyl and CD and all of the different formats, so definitely one to check out, one to be excited about. Only a couple more here. On June 13th, Moonletters is releasing their album This Dark Earth, and they just released their new single today called In the Catacombs. This is a North American prog band. I believe they're based out of Seattle, if I remember correctly. Just really cool, quirky retro prog that I just absolutely love. Their previous album was just fantastic. So I definitely would highly recommend this one and checking out the single if you're into that kind of retro, fun, eclectic, modern progressive rock. It's just right in line with the style that I love personally. And then Nad Sylvan on the 20th of June is releasing Monumentata, and the single that he's just released is Monte Carlo Priceless. Nad Sylvan is a well-known vocalist who's touring a lot with Steve Hackett. He has a very Peter Gabriel kind of style vocal. But on his solo releases, he kind of does his own thing and has his own quirky kind of sensibility about him. But this album sounds really, really great based on the two singles that have been released. I really love this single, Monte Carlo Priceless. His music draws from the golden age of prog rock, blending in folk, classical, and modern rock influences, resulting in a sound that feels both classic and contemporary. So that pretty much can describe my taste in music right there in that press release comment. And this track in particular is a nostalgic look back into the 1960s. So it's really fantastic. There's a lot of great guests that you'd expect from the prog scene on this record as well, including Randy McStein, David Koller, Neil Whitford, drummers Marco Meneman, Mirko de Mouw, and Felix Lehrman. Bass is taken care of by Jonas Reingold, Nick Biggs, and Tony Levin. I mean, you don't get much more like all-star modern prog than those names. So this is out for pre-order as well on limited. It's limited CD digipack, gatefold transparent green LP, and a digital album. Fantastic. Those are all the big releases. There's plenty more releases coming out in the next couple months, so please shout them out in the comments. There's many that I didn't really cover completely, but that have had great singles out and a lot of excitement around them. As for the channel itself, to try to quickly wrap up here, like I mentioned, I did a review of Solstice and their new album, Clan. It was a while back now, a couple weeks ago, but if you didn't see that one, check it out. Fantastic record, very uplifting, positive, symphonic prog. I absolutely love it. And then I did a roundup of my favorite 25 albums of the first quarter, which was kind of a lengthier one, but very much a lot of recommendations in that episode if you're looking for new albums to check out. I talk about a lot of things. And then we just recently put out our concert footage that we filmed on Cruise to the Edge this year, and that's been getting a lot of love and attention. So please check that out if you're curious, if you want to see some clips of the different bands that performed on the cruise. Many of them are behind me, represented by Albums on the Wall. So that's going to be fun to put out there. Like I mentioned, we're hoping to do a cruise recap episode where me and Janet talk through our experience, and hoping to put that out Sunday is kind of the date we're shooting for if we can get it edited in time. I'm also going to be doing a review this weekend of Cosmic Cathedral, the new Neil Morse project, hopefully tomorrow on Saturday. The new album's Deep Water, and I'm excited to talk about it. The release date for the album is a week from now, so excited to jump into that one, and just hoping to do a smattering of reviews to kind of catch up after being a few weeks away. Black Country New Road, Glass Hammer. I'm thinking about Brass Camel. There's a couple others in my head. Those are probably the three most likely. But I'm trying to catch myself back up and not overwhelm myself with too much work where I get burnt out. So it's a tough, tricky balance, but I'm hoping you guys will appreciate the upcoming content. And thank you guys for supporting me. I just feel really fulfilled with this channel right now, especially with the response I received on Cruise to the Edge. Several people came up and were very kind to me and Jana and told us that they watch our videos and that they really like what we do. So that's always very, very affirming and very positive, and I'm just really grateful for the community, for the more positive vibe that's been fostered here. That's really what I was going for, and I'm just so grateful that you guys subscribing and watching these videos are sticking with that mentality. It really means a lot to me. So thank you guys so much, and I'll hopefully catch you guys in a future episode if you'll stick around with me. Thank you guys. Enjoy the music.